marks John Roach's 25th anniversary as a columnist for Madison Magazine. John is founder and president of John Roach Projects, a video and film production company based here in Madison.
In 2003, a selection of his columns were compiled in a book way out here in the middle. His latest book, right here, great picture of him on the cover, is called While I Have Your Attention, and it highlights some of John's favorite and most memorable columns. That really is a good picture, John. Good to see you.
Nice seeing you guys. Thanks for doing this.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
25 years. That's
Yeah, 25 years. I say in the preamble that I don't view myself as a particularly dogged kind of guy, but to stay at it for 25 years feels pretty good.
Yeah.
Was it hard to pick a selection for this book?
Yeah, you know what was really hard is to go back and read the columns I wrote, because it's like if you guys were to go back and watch your broadcast, you want to fix stuff all the time. But thankfully, Brennan Nardi, who was my editor for a long time at Madison Magazine, she kind of led the way, and then I said, yeah, that's fine, because I don't feel like I have much perspective on them. I do think that when I went back and read it, some of them I went, oh, that's a good line, or that was a good word, but it's really hard to look at your own work in retrospect.
Right.
If you read Madison Magazine, John's column is always on the last page. It's the last thing, and they save the best for last. And you write about everything imaginable, from the weather to your cabin to, you know, politics, you name it.
Well, I'm grateful. You know, the original guy who brought me in, Doug Moe, was the editor, and he said, write about whatever you want. And really, every editor since has pretty much given me that latitude. And I just try to think about what matters that month, you know, either what mattered personally or to Madison or to us as a people at large. You know, something that made me angry or made me laugh or made me sad or fascinated me, but you try to make people feel something, right?
Did you ever hit a roadblock that I had nothing to write about this month?
You know, Mark, I actually never have.
Yeah?
I'm never for lack of an opinion. And I do take notes through the month about something that popped up that I went, that's interesting. Why is it interesting? You know, there are three people who did blurbs for the book. Maggie Ginsberg, David Marinis, and George Hesselberg. And he said, you know, John adds context, which I think I was flattered by that, because, you know, I grew up in Madison, so I remember Madison in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. I also was away from Madison for a while, which adds perspective. But being a townie, I think, gives you some credibility. You know, it doesn't mean you're right, but at least you were there.
Well, and you also have a strong opinion. You're not afraid of a controversial subject. You know, you're in the mix.
Well, Susan, you know, my media years, I worked in television Chicago. You know, Mike Royko owned that town then, and he wasn't afraid to make waves. Nor was Oprah, nor was Phil Donahue. These were people I was across the hall from, and so I learned from that to, you know, swing away a little bit.
How does the process work? You come up with the idea, you call the editors, and they say okay, or you just...
No, I just turn it in
and
the headline, and they say, okay. I have had some columns where Brennan and I, or Andre and I, debate a little bit about, as in, are you sure you want to say that? And usually I am sure that I want to say it.
Good for them.
Oh yeah, they're tremendous. It's been really fun, and as a writer, it's really good to write for public consumption once a month, to have your work scrutinized, you know.
Well, I, for one, turn right to the back page.
So do I.
Thanks, man.
I do too.
Appreciate it.
No, I do too, yeah.
And you can hear more from John Saturday at the Wisconsin Book Festival, 7:30 to 9 o'clock at the Downtown Public Library. I read there was free beer and pizza.
Free beer, free pizza, free laughs.
Congratulations.
Thanks, you guys, so much.
Success.
Appreciate it.
See you next month. Back page.